Rock and roll is an idea and an ideal.
Rock star Joan Jett had to deal with rejection from 23 record companies. Every executive told her women they couldn't even rock, one told her to play with dolls instead. She kept those letters of refusal back then. For 7 weeks, her song was #1. 4 weeks in a row, the same business. That ridiculed her and became desperate to sign her, but her fame came with an awful cost. Behind the leather and attitude was a terrible secret that no one knew about. Here it is. The truth about Joan's worst moments. Days that will shock you. Joan Jett was born on the 22nd of September 1958 in Wynwood, Pennsylvania, where her dad worked. As an insurance, he was a salesman and his mother was a secretary. Middle-class family living in a quiet neighborhood, but Joan was never going to be every day. Even when she was a baby, signs of being very focused and a streak while people in America were dancing to Little Joan. Elvis was already different. At age 6, she started to ask her they didn't think she wouldn't want to go. Toys. She wanted power. She was getting taller, growing up in a world that wanted her to be that was very nice and ladylike, but that wasn't Joan. When she was 9 years old in 1967, she and her family moved to Rockville, Maryland. The summer of love happened that year. The world changed, and Joan did too. At school, she didn't fit in, so she said no. Wore skirts and got in trouble 12 times. Her teachers called her too during one semester strong-willed and brave, but Joan didn't care about what she was paying attention to what was going on in America. She saw women, people walking to protest the war, and in 1972, music was pushing all the limits. When she was only 14, she set up a 76 girls signed her petition at school, sign a petition for more sports chances. Joan didn't mean to be a rebel, there was nothing else that could happen at home. Joan was a girl. She got in fights with boys who said girls couldn't. She showed them that she could play rock or sports. She was wrong every time. Even when she built a clubhouse for girls only in her backyard, they played music and wrestled. Dreamed big, and that's when things changed. Her cousin got her into a Black Sabbath show in 1971. The noise, the energy and chaos that changed her life for good. She later saw the New York Dolls play, and that blew the doors open. There was no care for how loud the makeup was. Did anyone think Joan went home? 37 hours of their music. That wasn't a phase that lasted for days on end. Was weird. In Joan's family in 1972 she moved again, this time to Los Angeles. She was 13 and had just the first for her gift. It cost that guitar, which cost $38.95 at Sears, became hers best friend. She didn't go to school, she taught herself with a chord book. She played for 7 to 8 hours a day, even when fingers bled, and she missed school. 14 in 1973 alone because she practiced at home and did a great job. For her, the Sunset Strip was full of Joan talked about glam rock and wild bands. 78 magazine covers on the walls of her bedroom. She had written 12 songs by that time. She was 14 years old and knew they weren't good. She did it anyway, so it didn't matter. In 1973, she was starting to grow up. It was all over again for her parents. Joan, who was separated, took it hard on her dad. Left, and she felt something snap inside. She didn't wish to be Joan Larkin. Not enough. She tried names like Joan Rebel and Joan Wild, but none of them felt right at the time. She chose Jett. That stuck. Joan Jett sounds like fire. That's what the name of someone who did not care about the world as planned. She made a fake ID and added 4 years younger than her and began sneaking around. She didn't go to clubs to flirt. Watch to learn how to question things. She was already planning to make her own band when she was 15. She put up a small ad. Woman player 15 in a music paper looks for other women to join the band. Things that Susie Quattro. New York Dolls. You don't need knowledge, just guts. Ad in early 1975 changed everything for Joan. He met Kim Flay at an Alice Cooper party. Was making songs and had a crazy. Joan told him about her idea for a. He didn't laugh at the all-girl rock band. Instead, he put her in touch with Sandy West, whom they met at Sandy's house, and when they played together, it clicked right away. Flay was so pleased that he made them try out for a music reporter on the phone not long after the Runaways were born. In the first version, Joan, Sandy, and Mickey Steele's first live show was at Whiskey A Go Go in September 1975, but it wasn't easy for Flay to become their boss. He helped them make a deal with Mercury Records, but he was mean to them. They were in charge of, insulted, and made parents gave him promises he broke. Complained that musicians were getting mad. By 1977 they fired him and left the label attached to him that they wanted to take over. It was their own music that they brought in. Toby women who worked with Susie Quatro and Blondie changed over time. Mickey Steele quit the group in October 1975. Lita Ford became the lead guitarist. Joan switched to bass guitar, and they Sherry Curry at a club for teens and friends. Pierre Foster joined her Bowie-like style, and Berlin came in for a short time and then left. After that also left, and finally Jackie Fox took over as bass. By December 1975 the whole band was set. Joan, Sandy, Sherry, Jackie and Lita kept track of their first record the following month, but the rock music wasn't ready for them when they got there. It was still a boys' game. The question, "Who's girlfriends?" was asked at clubs. "Who are you?" They had to say, "I'm the." Even back then, people thought they did not play piano or sing backup bands or drums. They had to show them over and over again. Fans would wait for them to mess up and then stare at them. They learned twice as hard as they worked. Until they were just right when Joan Jett and the Runaways put out their first album, The Record, in March 1976. No one thought a group of teens would show up. Girls to make rock music more interesting, but they did, and it began with one song. Cherry Bomb. That song wasn't even good. Planned that Sherry Curry had tried out with the band didn't want to play Fever. That's why Kim Flay and Joan Jett wrote Cherry Hit. That last-minute song, Like a Bomb, became their signature song, and it's a real broken guitars, drums, and an angry. The words were loud and clear. It wasn't just start their careers. It made history. The song made it to number 52 on VH1's list of the 100 best hard rock songs ever. There was one other all-female band on that list, that the girls were only 16 or 17 years old at the time. But they played with fire and joy. Lita Ford ripped on the guitar. Sir Curry, she growled her way through the lines like she. Cherry Bomb didn't just own the stage music. It was a shot to warn the Runaways didn't come here to get along back home in the US, but the band didn't deserve the respect they got. But in Japan in 1977, things were different. Became very famous, but only Led Zeppelin there. More people liked ABBA and Kiss. When they got to Tokyo, people crowded around them like they were the Beatles. An hour-long TV show did talk shows and packed music halls. On August 13, 1977, they put out Live in Japan, a rough and uncut live album with no fancy fixes, just a young rock band's real sound when the band was tearing it up live. That record ended, the most powerful record they ever made, but it was also the last time Sherry Curry and Jackie Fox were going to be on a Runaways record. What goes on behind the scenes were in bad shape. Kim Flay, the boss and producer, had a tight hold on that. The band was too strong. Later said he played tricks on them and scared them to stay in charge. Some accused him of verbal, and parents who were sexually abused got trust. Began to end. Fights between those involved fought over where the money was going and who got the attention. Joan Jett wanted more. Ford was after fashion and pop music. The makers worked hard and heavy in the studio. Began letting other band members play alone, cutting Jett out for a moment. She felt that the band she helped build was leaving. She was right. Then the darkest a part of their past in 2015. For 6 months when Kim Foley died, Jackie Fox did she made the heartbreaking claim that on 1975 New Year's Eve, she was 16. Flay raped her when she was almost not aware of what happened at a party, and it is said that some friends were in the details in the room were frightening. Someone saw Flay act like it was other performers, such as Joan Jett and Sherry Curry, said she didn't see what happened, or said they still left the room. That the damage was severe, and the moment shook the history of the band that made people do. Let's talk about the bad things in rock and what young women in the business did. The Runaways played their last show through April show in San Francisco on New Year's Eve 1978. The job had been given to Joan by that time. Singing and the band's lineup had changed again. Their fourth record had just come out. It had been 2 weeks, but the stress was Lita and Joan couldn't agree on too many things. Joan liked glam rock Lita music. In April of that year, they still wanted hard rock. 1979, they really broke up with Sandy West. Lita and I tried to start a new band, but running away didn't last long, they were done. Still, they left a mark that showed the world where young girls could play just as loud, real, and raw as anyone else. Their narrative should have finished that, but Joan Jett wasn't John and Joan broke up, and Joan flew to England. She didn't have a plan, she just had to play there more. She met Paul Cook and Steve Jones from the band Sex Pistols. They made 3 songs together, I Love Rock and Roll in rough form. Joan heard the song for the first time in 1976. When the group Arrows played it on, it stuck with her after seeing it on British TV. The song she made in 1979 wasn't a hit. It was a B-side, but her first step as a solo singer. When they got back to the US, the door shut. She went to 23 record companies. All said no, they didn't think a woman could rock. Some told her to stop making music, and one even told her to go. They were too busy playing with dolls to notice the fire. Joan didn't forget that she had saved every years after getting the rejection letter, show her and everyone else how wrong they were. All of those times after the Runaways was rough. Joan said she felt lost, sir. It was like the band had died. She was done with fame for good. Not long enough and the money hadn't come. She got drunk over and over again. It looked like everything was going wrong. But she played music over and over. Something that made sense. In 1979 she went to the Riot House and met Kenny Lagona. He was a friend and song producer in Los Angeles. Jones had asked him to write songs with her for a movie project. They had clicked right away. That weekend they wrote songs together and found out they had more than just a short collaboration. Kevin had almost made it work with the Runaways many years ago, but he picked a different job this time. Didn't leave together. They made a Joan and Kenny made a brave move in 1980 when they their own record company, Blackheart Records. A big record company wanted her, so they made one themselves, and Kevin borrowed money from the college fund for her daughter to print records. They sold them out of in the trunk of their cars, club by club, built a fan base. They didn't need clothes or bosses, just didn't care that year Joan cut I Love Rock and Roll again. This time with her new band the Blackhearts in 1982, the song was a #1 hit. One stayed there the same for 7 weeks. Rock sound that 23 record labels turned down become the song of a whole generation. On January 23, 1981, they put out the title track from the album Bad Reputation. Jett took on the name People and said it all used to break her, but it only number 51 on the Billboard 200, but started getting bigger when I Love Rock and Roll hit big, and a film for Bad was finally made. Fame that brought the song new life. VH1 named it the 29th best after years of time hard rock song that Rolling Stone has ever put out. It came in at number 249 on their list of the 500, one of the best songs ever. The track brought it back as the theme song for In the Beginning of Freaks and Geeks and 10 Things I Don't Like About You. Joan, she didn't just want a solo act. So, in late 1979, she put together a band, looking for 3 good with help from John Doe, a famous punk. She tried out bands at Sirrer in Los Angeles, where her band the When Blackhearts was born. It had Gary Ryan, 15 years old, plays bass, Eric Ambel on guitar and Danny O'Brien on thunder. O'Brien was playing drums after a tour of Europe. The band was fired and moved to Long Beach, New York, and Lee Crystal took over as drums from 1980 to 1981. They went on tour. They were broke but determined all the time. Their 1981 show at the New York Palladium turned things around from playing dead, making traffic jams in LA at night. Long Island, the Blackhearts showed themselves even while they were recording, went on tours on the weekends. Jett later said the plan kept them alert. Joan first in 1976, when I heard I Love Rock and Roll, the Arrows, a British band, played it stuck with her after seeing it on TV. The song in 1979 with 2 members of the Sex Pistols, but it didn't catch on. In the summer of 1981 with her new band in where she tried again, and they recorded the album in Long Beach at Kingdom Sound Studios Island. Eric Ambel was switched out for Ricky Byrd, he said as soon as they smashed it. I just clicked on the record. It had a mix of the first copies and covers that came out on November 18, 1981. Jett called the sound able to dance to and the story simple to follow. The song was a big hit in Australia and New Zealand in January 1982. It hit the United States radio waves. That's when by March 20, 1982, everything had gone off. Love Rock and Roll was the #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100. It stayed for it was the number for 7 weeks in a row. List of the top 3 songs of the year. Number 56 on the all-time Billboard chart. It had more than 2 million copies sold and was later added to the Grammy Hall of It. Only got to number 2 on the charts. Behind the Go, this had never happened before for a girl rocker who used to be in punk. After the first song, Crimson and Clover also became one of the top 10 hit writers. Shocked just 2 years earlier. Labels they laughed at her now. Jett was ashamed and stopped selling, from keeping records in parking lots to becoming a She Wasn't Done There rock star. The cover of Crimson and Clover was read by number 7, and she kept the first one. Lyrics her, not him, she said it was just for the rhyme, but it had meaning more. It turned into a quiet song in the Kathleen is killed by an LGBTQ+ world bikini. She remembers hearing that when she was a child. And having a change in how Jett felt changed the words to other songs, like She liked rock and roll, but not this time. It wasn't loud, but years of work went into it. It was later thought to be one of the first. Then came more gay-friendly rock hits getting on the charts. Do You Want to Touch Me? Yeah, it got to number 20, but the Gary Glitter, an artist, was later found guilty to be a pedophile. When Green Day they gave away the song in 2020 royalties to organizations that help abuse survivors, because one of the writers told us about that song is a hole we Jetts chose to give away our profits. Not all of his work was free of debate. Even though she didn't do anything in 1987, she changed her part and played. She acted with Michael J. Fox, she played a bartender and a single mom. Singer, the movie was tough, and Jett she almost didn't do it, but she liked the boss Paul Schrader and gave it a shot, and she even dyed her hair brown. Take some space away from her rock. Chardayer said she was a natural person. Michael J. Fox said that they made real. Jett wasn't just working together out of respect. Acting like a different person, she was acting for real, but it didn't work out. Don't let anyone treat her badly because she picked up her first guitar when she was 13 years old. When she played rock, her girls couldn't do it. Was in Runaways. Fans threw trash and spit at the band. She would finish shows. The spit and tear-soaked her pain made her drink from as early as at 8 a.m. She said, I was mad. I didn't know how to understand the world that girls could play with. When she formed but she chose male artists as Blackhearts too. It wasn't ideal, but stay away from the same abuse. Even back then, it worked. When interviewers asked about getting married, not her songs. There were always 2 sets of rules. In 1988, she had another hit called I Hate I Love You because I came from I had a very rough idea for the place at first. I hate myself because I can't get laid, but Desmond Child, who wrote the script, helped shape it. It became more. It got to number 8 and 26 weeks on the charts. She had a hit song with Mick Taylor, a soloist from the Rolling Stones, played. After many years, NBC turned the song into the There Will Be a New theme for Sunday Night Football. Pink sang the words first, then Faith Hill and then Carrie Underwood almost take off. They couldn't use it, but the deal went through. She got more money from that song than anything else in the 1990s. A new wave of feminist punks looked up to Joan Jett. Earned the name the Riot Grrrl bands. It looks like Bikini Kill stole her style and sound, but it wasn't just fake. Jett helped them directly. She set up their 1993's new Radio Rebel Girl. The song Bad Reputation by Jett had already set the stage for this movement. Wasn't afraid to be loud and proud when an attack them as the Riot Grrrl. Jett wasn't just a movement that went off. The story goes that she was in the fight Also became more active in politics. She cared a lot about animal rights. During her life, she helped PETA Farm Sanctuary and spoke out for being a veggie. My goal is to become a vegan. It helps the earth and the animals. In 2013, South got kicked off a parade float Dakota for those points of view, but she didn't not give up after Mia Zapata, lead singer one of the Gits, was raped and killed in 1993. Jett stepped in, and she had no idea the band, but she joined them to make. They raised money to solve evil Stig. She even went on America's Most. The killer was finally caught in 2004. She also helped start a group for women, Seattle Self-Defense Group. After September 11th, she went on tour abroad to help the troops. Even as you keep, people kept asking her about her anti-war views. She rarely talked about her sexuality. In 1990, she gave a clear answer. If someone calls me a Nordyke now, I don't care. That was different from when she didn't agree with feminism, but over time, she got to know the movement. She never called out in public herself, but her songs told the story. In 2010, she was asked, "Anyone who read my If You Want to Know Who I Am lyrics?" That quiet made some people mad. Fans, but Jett always thought her work was good. The 1990s were rough, as many people said. For many old rockers, grunge and other kinds of music took over, but Jett, she didn't fight it. She worked with Riot girl groups. Her 1994 album Pure and Simple showed those groups. She worked with Kathleen Hanna and I wrote Go Home Together.